warmly. The guest book and name tags, we used to do that in this club. Remember way back when, John? We used to do a guest book, they'd sign in, and we had name tags. And we don't really do that anymore. So as a club, we have to decide, does that have value, and do we want to reinstitute that? A professionally arranged meeting room. Now, fortunately, we have a venue where everything tends to be pretty much arranged for us. There's not a whole lot we can do to set it up any different, and we don't want to really mess with the furniture too much, but it's set up already pretty nice. Convenient meeting location. The meeting location in general is convenient because it's right off the freeway. The actual room, it's convenient once we know where it is. It's convenient, but it's also an adventure sometimes to find it, because we do have the room du jour setup going on here, but fortunately all the rooms here, once we know where they are fairly easy to find. Guests are invited to address the club, and that's something we've been very good at in this club. When guests come here, they're always invited to stand up and at least introduce themselves and say why they came here, and also give their impression of the club afterwards. So we've done that pretty well. And guests invited to join. Well, of course, guests are invited to join. That is a sales issue, and Marie is our president, and Marie sells things, and she's very good at it. So they're always not just invited to join, but really coerced, I would say. That's why we have so many new members here. And we want to join. And one thing about Toastmasters that people don't know is we're kind of like our own little cult. Yeah, we try to get people to join in. We have a 10-step program, do we not? The CC manual, okay. We have our own terminology. ATM, DTM, TM, or all this kind of stuff. We use these, even our club, TOTV, right, what we use for the club. We have our own terminology. We have, besides our own club, we can actually go to larger denominational meetings if we want, cross-pollinate with the other congregations out there. We are all trying to achieve an enlightenment level, a higher power enlightenment level that we keep working our way up towards, which is, we don't call it nirvana, we call it DTM. Okay, and we actually revere our DTMs. When you go to the meetings, they're always introduced, we kind of revere them, but if there's a world champion of public speaking, we worship them. This seems to be what I've noticed. So we have to then go to the orientation. Remember orientation. That means a formal induction, and we do that in this club where once we've voted people in, and we do vote members in. The reason we vote members in is that gives us the ability to later vote them out. That sounds terrible, but that's actually true, because you could end up with a member that's a problem sometimes. So far, we've never had to vote anybody out, and we voted everybody in that's ever showed up, primarily if the check clears.
Which it didn't once.
It didn't once, okay, so. We give them a membership pin. I've been in the club long enough that I never got that pin, so I'm feeling really left out, but that's the story of my life. And we're considering possibly some hazing rituals, but we haven't got that far yet. Assigning mentors. Now, assigning mentors is a good thing, and a lot of the newer members have asked for mentors, and there's only one real issue we're having with that. Mentees are great, but they need mentors, and therefore, we need people in this club that are willing to step up and volunteer time and be mentors. That's always been our rub. The fact that we're all busy, so we need to really consider that. We need to talk about the educational programs and recognition systems. My question is to the newer members. Do you know what it takes to go through all the educational system?
No.
And what that means, a CC? And an advanced bronze and advanced silver. Do you know how you get to be a DTM? So we need to talk about that more. We need to talk about, there's two tracks. There's a communication track and a leadership track. And as you work your way up through the system, you achieve different levels of that. And the fact is, if you just hang around long enough, you'll just work your way through the system by giving enough speeches and doing enough tasks. So we need to talk more about that, because all the members should understand where that is. That's where the mentors would come in. We also, I believe, have little cards we can actually get from Toastmasters that just have everything listed on there, so at least you'll know what the requirements are. Learning needs assessed. That means when you come in at some point, we do have to judge you. We don't like to be a judging group, but we have to judge where you stand, so we know how far you have to go or what you need to work on. And the only way to do that is to get you up here to speak, whether that's as a scheduled speaker, an evaluator, a table topics contestant, a Toastmaster, whatever it is for the day, general evaluator. We need to be able to assess where you are, and then we can know what to work with and what you need to work on in particular. And we need to get your first speaking role assigned quickly. And we are a fairly large club, and we've grown very fast, and therefore for some of you it's taken a while to get that first speaking assignment going, because we have kind of a backlog. So at some point when the club gets too overly large, if it continues to, we may have to actually consider breaking into two different clubs, which happens sometimes. Although we've had a couple new clubs in the area that started because of that. And then members should be involved in all aspects of club activities. That means you have to go beyond observing. You can't just show up and then only do your speech and then only show up on those days. That means you get drafted. In this club, prepare to be voluntold. When you show up, and you know that, you show up and you're expecting not to do anything, and the list goes around. You're going to do this today, you're going to do this today. And we're pretty good at jumping in on that. But we also need to, in advance, volunteer for those things so we don't have to do the last minute shuffle. So then we move over to the fellowship, variety, and communication. We've already talked about guests being greeted warmly and made welcome. We need to have enjoyable educational meetings planned. And aside from our regular meetings where we go through our speeches and our evaluators, sometimes we have to do educationals. Today's a little like that, partially because I have to do this canned speech right here as part of the requirements, and Bob was doing an educational as well. But we've talked about doing other things, speech crafts, those type of things, which are different than our regular meetings. We did have Cheryl Rush come one day. Ralph?
Rush.
Okay. And that was a different meeting. We had a professional speaker come talk to us. So we try to do those things a little bit different. Social events. Scheduling social events in this club isn't really too much of a stretch because we have the social queen in charge of the club, and she likes social events. So next week, what are we doing? Social event, that's right. And absolutely. Members need to participate in area, district, and international events. That means there is a world outside this club. Do you know, the newer members, do you know what's outside this club? Toastmasters International? There's contests. There's training venues, what they call TLI at the Cal Baptist University. They do that twice a year. $10. $10 and you're going to get $15 worth of lunch for it. And you get all the educational training, and it's a great day to see what other clubs are doing, and there's always great speakers and great educational sessions. Takes half a Saturday, well worth it. Their speech contest. And you can either enter as a contestant, but they also need judges, they need timers, and you can just show up and support your fellow club members who happen to be competing. Someone at the door?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Last thing I want to do is interrupt you.
That's okay, we were just talking about welcoming guests warmly.
There you go.
That's right.
Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Inter-club events. We haven't done too many of these because they kind of end up being district and division type things, but there is opportunities where we can schedule things and invite other clubs to join us and do a little cross-pollination. Obviously, we're the only afternoon club in this area, but you're welcome to join other clubs. Go visit them. See what's going on if you're available. And if you tell them ahead of time you're coming, they may let you speak there. Then club newsletters or websites. We're working on a new website, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. And that's something that has to be updated regularly. And we have a Facebook page. And I know that gets updated on a regular basis. Tie into those things. We don't really do a newsletter because that's so last century. We tend to more do the electronics, but we need to stay in on that. And what we really would like was someone that would like to volunteer to be kind of our webmaster. Would be great if you got that skill and that talent set. And then we have to do our program planning and meeting organization. We do most of that by email here. We have the agenda that gets emailed out. We tend to do it at the last minute. We do it because the speakers are scheduled ahead of time, but then people kind of come and go and we don't really know who's going to be here. Try if you can. If you know you're going to make a meeting, get on there, volunteer yourself for a position. 2 reasons. One, it helps the Toastmaster to know what to expect. And secondly, it makes accountability for you because now you put your name in there. And now you don't really have the option that morning of deciding whether I'm going to go or I'm not going to go without having to email the whole group and say, yeah, I'm going to bail out today. It gives you a little level of accountability. So I would encourage you strongly to do that. I believe in planning ahead. We need to plan the meetings, but also be flexible too. And we tend to do that. We kind of have them planned out, but we need to maintain flexibility on that. Members need to know the program responsibilities and be able to carry out their assignments. And the only way you're going to know the different responsibilities and positions here and be able to competently do that is to volunteer for them and do them. And come up here and make an absolute fool of yourself the first couple of times. as you work your way through and figure out what does it mean to be a Toastmaster? What does it mean to be the general evaluator? What does it take to be the humorist? How am I gonna be the grammarian? Volunteer for the positions and just do them. And that's the only way you're gonna really learn them. All projects should be manual projects. That's according to the official Toastmasters Bible. And I'm split on that myself, because I've done a lot of projects that were not manual projects, and they came out to be some of my best talks because I wasn't restrained. However, there is a reason that all the manual talks are there, because they have you work on a general purpose that helps improve your skills. So I look at it as a little bit of a balance. And you don't have to go through all the manuals Toastmasters has. Bob, 14th time through the CC? That's the same manual. He's doing manual speeches, but he's going back through each time and trying to do better than he did last time, even though he's already achieved the highest level you can go in Toastmasters. So you can still do manual speeches and still do something very different than what you've done before. And it is good sometimes to go through the discipline of doing these kind of things that I'm doing today, which is more of a canned Toastmaster International set speech. There's not a lot of creativity in it, but it's good to learn how to do those, because in the business world, you're gonna have to do some of those. You have to get up and talk about things that aren't your presentation. Meetings need to begin on and end on time, and we're usually fairly good about that. We will start late a few times, and we will end late sometimes. But the best way around that is to pretend that our starting time was actually noon and our ending time was no, don't do that. We should be very diligent trying to start and end on time, and it's difficult to do because we have a much shorter meeting period than most clubs do, and we try to jam a lot into it. Creative table topics and activities. If you're the table topics master, make sure you know what the theme of the meeting is. Coordinate with the Toastmaster to find out what's going on, and if you can, try to find out who's speaking that day and what they're talking about, because you can tie into those things and prepare your table topics in advance, your questions or your prompts, and be creative about it. It doesn't just have to be a question. I've seen people use grab bags of stuff and different props. So we've done panel type discussions. Be creative about it, whatever you want to do. And try to always involve people that have not had another speaking role in the meeting. Okay? And then positive and helpful evaluations. And club membership strength. And evaluations, may I say, when you have these slips here, use them, please. We hand these out. Write something down for each person that speaks, and also people that maybe aren't scheduled as speakers. Use a blank sheet of paper, give them some kind of feedback, because every kind of evaluation helps. Our member strength, we need to have 20 or more members, which we've well beyond that right now. This is just the people that showed up today, and we can't hardly fit in the room. But besides getting new members, we've been really good at getting new members, but we need to retain the members that are new. So for all the members that leave, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why are they not here? What had more value to them than coming here to the meeting? And then see what we can do to make sure that our meetings have the value that makes them want to come. It should be something where they block it on their calendar and say, I can't miss Toastmasters. Okay. Promotion of the club in the community. Well, we have the Facebook, and a lot of our club members are really good at promoting in the community. We all need to be doing that. Everybody needs to be out there promoting Toastmasters in general, and promoting this club in the community. Invite them. You don't realize that if each one of us brought one guest, we'd have to work in 2 different meetings, right? It would barely fit in this room. So make sure that we tell people out there, because you know there's people when you're at work or you're someplace and you listen to them present, and you're thinking, wow, that's a person that could really use some Toastmasters there. Well, don't just leave it at that. Don't leave them flailing. Throw them a lifeline. Invite them in. Right? We need to recognize our members that sponsor new members. That's part of the recognition. Toastmasters has a lot of recognition. One thing we need to do is, as people bring people in, we need to recognize them, and we have done that in the past. And we need to use the Distinguished Club Plan, and that's a whole different educational I'm not going to get into, but that Distinguished Club Plan talks about milestones the club can hit to show that we're doing what we're supposed to do and growing and improving like we're supposed to. And if you want to know what that plan looks like, talk to Bob Friel. He's got it right up here in his head. He's been very good actually keeping this club on track for how many years in a row, Bob?
This is number 5.
5 years in a row.